Life speaks. It speaks through struggles and success, through music and messages, the preconceived and the unexpected. Whether you are in the depths of the valley or in the midst of your mountaintop experience, everyone needs to be encouraged from time to time. You've tuned in to ALH Broadcasting, and this is Andrea Hines, your host for When Life Speaks. I'm glad you accepted the invitation to connect with us as we share stories of strength, testimonies of triumph, observations, and information meant to touch the heart and uplift the soul. There's something in this broadcast just for you, and if it's a blessing to your life, it just may be for someone else as well. So tag, share, invite someone, then turn down the volume of life and get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to When Life Speaks. I'm your host, Andrea Hines, and I am here with the host of Whole and Beautiful, Miss Angela Oliphant. And we're going to say hello to you this evening. I welcome everybody, and I'm glad that you are here tonight. And Angie, how you been doing? You been good?
I've been pretty good. Tired, but good. I'm doing well.
We're all kind of winding down the week. Good evening, Victoria. I see you popped in this evening. Glad to have you with us tonight. We are going to, I want to, before I get into actually what we're going to do today, Angie, did you participate in any prayer, National Day of Prayer activities at all?
I did this week. What we did was that on Facebook and YouTube, there were just like encouraging words that were put out for prayer, and then a prayer at the end, about a 15-minute thing, and I participated in that. My pastor, he did like Tuesday, and he did again today, Thursday, and then I did Wednesday, and we just came on, prayed, talked a little bit about prayer and what prayer really is.
Okay.
And then prayed for the people and for the country and different things like that. But we didn't have like a actual like service where people came in.
Mm-hmm. What do you remember? What the definition they came up with for prayer?
I think it was communicating with God, talking to God, fellowship.
Okay. I was just curious because we had done something here on When Life Speaks about prayer, and I was just wondering if there was anything different or anything gained from that. We had a prayer brunch at church today, and we prayed for, I want to say the 7 mountains, but I'm missing one, and I don't know what it is, but we prayed for church, and we prayed for family, and we prayed for arts and entertainment and things like that. And a gentleman at the very end challenged us to do something. And I thought about it because on one of the programs, on our Authors Up program, we had a couple that had written a book, and the book had to do with how to share God, which is one of the things that we are supposed to be doing is share the good news.
Yes.
But he said he made a commitment starting, I think he said last May, that he would be sure to tell 3 people every day that God loves them.
Wow.
To just tell them God loves you.
Loves you.
Don't have to have a long conversation or anything like that. But when you did, challenge them to do the same. Can you imagine what an impact that would make on the world and in the lives of people? And I thought about that. I'm taking the challenge, and I challenge you to take the challenge.
Yes, because it's amazing what those three words would do to somebody's life
Yeah,
just because they hear that God loves them. Like
right.
even the conference that I went to this past weekend, and Travis Green, he was talking, and he was talking to Pastor Cheryl Brady, but he was telling her how much her words meant at the end of a sermon that she preached years ago,
Yeah.
but it changed his life.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just she he said that she had said at the end of that sermon was not to try to not to explain it, just do it, don't explain it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he took those words, and now he has that ministry, he has that church and all of that, all because he took those words and applied them. And it's amazing what will happen when you just go tell somebody that God loves them, because you never know what's internally going on, because a lot of people can put on a happy face
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
pretend like they're really good,
Mm-hmm.
but those words will just resonate in their heart, will hit them like in their core. And some people, it's their lifeline to know that God loves them.
Yeah. The Francina said she's taking the challenge as well, and I hope that I remember before our program goes off tonight that to mention it again to those who are listening and viewing. And kind of goes along with what we're talking about in the Faith After 50, and it's not when we are in this age and stage that we are, and we start thinking about our prayers and thinking about the things that are important to us and the way that our prayers have changed,
Yes.
the will of God and the work of God begins to look different than it did when we were in our 20s and 30s. And this is more of an example of that. In my 20s, I would not have necessarily been, on a bandwagon to do that. But now, having lived as long as I have, I can see the change that just those simple things will make. And we were talking at breakfast about somebody, I can't remember, maybe it'll come back to me before we get off the air, but they had done something. And and I said, the thing about it is for us to be obedient,
Yes.
to do whatever God tells us to do, and he'll make sure that it gets where it needs to go. He makes sure that that arrow hits whatever the target happens to be. And I remember three words that she said years ago. Just kind of leaning into the things that you hear. And it was at the end of a sermon. And I remember her leaning over the pulpit with this intense look on her face. And she said, just believe God.
Wow.
Just believe God. And even now, and like I said, that's been many years ago, but even now, I write things for 8 at 8 in the morning and things like that. And I so many times, when I'm in the midst of wanting to and trying to figure it all out, that those words will come back to me.
Yes.
And they are so settling and so encouraging. Just believe God.
Just
Just
believe.
believe God. So as we get into this Faith After 50, we're looking at some of the things that have changed us and therefore changed our prayers and changed our expectation. Um, Years ago, when I prayed for the school system, we would pray for the children and the teachers and the tests and those kinds of things. But now we're praying for safety.
Yes. Yes. It's changed. Because before I remember praying for safety, but not like now. It
Right.
was like it was totally different back then. It was just, added in the prayer. But at this point, it seems like that is the main focus, is
Hmm.
that safety thing, because everything that's happening, it's like you can't turn on the TV without hearing about somebody who brought a weapon to school, or somebody
Right.
shooting up at a college, and all this. It's like it's a lot,
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot
a
different.
lot.
And in within those things, and that's what we were talking about, last week, that there, as you begin to get older, things that used to be important to you are not as important, and things that you didn't think about before, you think more about now. And I think that it is a good evening, Josie. Glad to have you in the house this evening. Thank you for joining us.
Oh,
Um,
Kelsey's here.
we just have we have new life languages that we kind of talked about last week, and what that meant to us in terms of respect and patience and support. I think we got on those pretty good uh,
Yes.
last week, but there is one that I think we are going to revisit, not tonight necessarily, but probably tomorrow. We've got something really, really special coming up tomorrow. And I'm not going to tell you about it right now, but I am going to tell you about it before we leave the air, because I think that you just may want to invite some folk to join you tomorrow and to weigh in. But one of the things that we said we were going to revisit as we are coming back and looking at this Faith Over 50 piece uh, um, was adult children.
Yes.
When we have faith for our adult children, is one of the things we were thinking about and talking about in our last Carolina conversation, had to do with what are you believing God for now, and
Right
what are you praying for now. And
now.
our prayers for our children have definitely changed from when they were little people
Yes.
to now. And they're the things that we wanted to talk about, three things in particular. One of them was character construction. One was a change in our relationship with our adult children, and the other was communicating with care. And
Yes.
we just want to briefly touch on those three things tonight. And where you want to start, Angie? Which one you want to start?
Oh, let's talk about the change
Okay.
in relationship. And the reason why I'm saying that one is because that that one right there has been a hard thing for me, is trying to figure out where the relationship is now, because when they're younger, you're kind of right there with them. You like that, like you were saying, the prayers are different,
Hmm.
and you're praying over them, and you're praying for them, but then to change that relationship into now they're adults. You're an adult, they're an adult, and it's like how do you navigate through that, because you're still the mom, but then also they're they're grown now, so they don't take you there. You're not there to like mother, like you were mothering when they were younger.
Yeah.
So that it's like kind of walking through that. I'm getting my feet wet in there. I was like trying to walk it out, and because my prayers have changed, it's like because I can't. When they were little, sometimes I say, "Oh, I wish you were little again," because you would just do what I told you to do.
Sometimes.
Sometimes,
Sometimes.
but getting older, it's like, okay, I've given you what I've given you. I have to trust that. I have to trust God that I've given you the things that you need. And now it's like watching you operate in it, and not jumping in to try to correct it or try to make you go a certain way. because you have to have your own relationship with God, and it can't be a relationship through me. It
Right.
has to be your own.
Right. Right.
And that right there is like, oh, okay, I have to step back, like take your hands off of it and
Yes.
allow God to do what God wants to do, and that is a hard thing.
It is a hard thing, and it's called letting go.
Yes, yes.
It's called letting go. There are two things that come to mind for me. One happened a long time ago, and one was just recent. And I remember praying to God about a situation. Actually, there are three things because we tend to, where do I want to put this? No, I don't want to put that right there. Okay. Uh, the, the first thing was God told me I was trying to help Lynn with something, and it wasn't working. And God said to me, you want to teach her to trust me, but you won't trust me with her.
Mm, wow.
And I thought, yeah, absolutely right. Because we are constantly in fix it mode.
Yes.
We are constantly in the mode of, why didn't you come to me?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you
Yes.
let me know what was going on? And God is like, no, that I got
That's not it.
you gave back to me, so I've got this. And I heard a pastor say just recently that parents stress over and get frustrated with their children because they're trying to get them to be what they want them to be.
Yeah.
He said, as a parent, now I want you to catch this because this is really something. He said, as a parent, you are to be their guide, not their God.
Mm.
And I thought, ew. Like, never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
But how many times do we find our children in situations where we are telling them, come to me, tell me about it. I can help you. I can show you what to do with all of this. Instead of saying, when you prayed, what did God tell you?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is God telling you to do? We
To do.
want them to develop that relationship with
Right.
Him that is personal for them. But how often do we really turn them back to Him?
Back to
Now,
him.
we'll do it with people that we are praying for, people,
Yeah.
our friends, or people that we're interceding for, and and they'll come to you. I want you to stand in agreement. And we will tend to do it then and say, "Well, have you prayed about it?
Yeah.
And what did God tell you?" And I had somebody do that to me one time. I said, "Did you pray?" "Yes, I prayed." I said, "What did God tell you?" "Well, God told me to do da 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 da." I said, "Okay, you've asked God, you've asked three other people,
Yes.
you're asking me. Whose advice are you going to take?" And he said very belligerently, "I'm going to do what God told me to do." And I said, "Then why are you calling me?
Yes.
If
Why?
you going to do what your creator told you to do,
Yes.
what you should do,
Right.
that's what you go with. You don't
Yes.
you don't need anybody else's opinion. You don't need anybody else's input. You don't need that. And I
Right.
think that in navigating the new role,
Yeah.
we have to take our hands off, which is difficult to do. And we have to be able to let go and let God, which we
Yes.
say all the time, but
You
don't,
say it, but that's the thing.
and allow them to make whatever mistakes they have to make because God has them. He
Yes.
he, he loaned them to us.
Right.
but they are his, and sometimes it is uncharted territory, it is new territory, but it's necessary territory that we've got to, as parents, navigate. We've
Yes.
got to figure out a way to get through that. Let's see what Francina is saying here. um, you have to now understand that they have to learn how to navigate life and trust what you instilled hasn't left them. Yes, yes, yes. And here's another. Francine is on it. We sometimes get in God's way of how He chooses to handle it, although it may not be how we want.
Yeah, how we always thinking that it's the way we think it should be, and if it's not going the way we think it should be, then we try to navigate them to where we want them to be.
I'm going to mute out for a minute, Angie. Get this call.
Okay. Yes. But we're going, but sometimes it's because, like Francina was saying, it's sometimes we get in God's way of how He chooses to handle it, though it may not be how we want it to be. Because a lot of times it's not the way that we want it to be, it's the way that He wants it to be. It's the way that He wants to navigate them. It's the way He wants them to go. And we have to trust that He took care of us and we're doing well. So since He took care of us and we're doing well, how much more can He take care of them if we really let go and give them over to Him and allow Him to navigate their lives like He wants to do? Because nobody can do it like God. He created them. He knows them probably better than what we do. More, He probably knows way more than what we know, so that he can navigate them and He can move them through and get them to where they need to be. But we got to trust Him. We say that we do,
That's
but
it.
we must trust the Lord with what may be very, very dear to our hearts, with our children. But we have to trust Him. We trust we would trust that He trusted. He has done what I said before. He's done what He's done for us. And then we've been in some places where it's like your parents, you think about your parents now and be like, ooh, I wonder what they were going through when I was going through.
When I was doing what I was doing.
Yeah, when I was doing all of this, what were they thinking? But God got us to a point where we got on track and started doing what we needed to do. And He can do that for our children too. But we got to let it go, because it's like, I think about, they talk about the different parents, like the helicopter parent.
Yeah.
And when I hear that, that's what I'm thinking. It's like they right there, they hovering over you. I'm going to say I release you, but then I'm going to pop up. I'm right there just to see if you're doing it right. But you have to let things go. You really do.
When we're talking about what are we believing God for now that's different, part of that goes into that other C, which talks about the change in the relationship.
Yes.
And it's not 180. It eventually, if you live long enough, becomes a 360. Because we end up, as we get older and as our parents get older, the relationships begin to shift and turn and change.
Yes.
You know, the care that we gave to them, they're now in many cases giving to us.
Yes. Yes.
And it becomes, I think the part that gets cloudy is as they grow, and even before they, get into their 20s sometimes. And this is all linked. It's interesting. God, I thank you the way that you are putting this together, because when we are changing and navigating these changes, a lot of times we want to be their friend.
Yeah.
So in being your friend, there's certain things I don't want to tell you, and then there's certain things that I tell you that I don't really need to tell you.
True.
And
That's so true.
that gets a little cloudy
Yeah.
in there. And then that leads into the piece, the other C piece that we had, which has to do with character construction. You
Right.
know, if I'm partying and you're partying and everybody's partying, where are we developing the moral excellence? Where
Right.
are we developing the values? Where are we developing those things? And I remember I had I had a uh, an employee who was late to work, and when I inquired about what had happened and everything, she said I couldn't get my son dressed, and I said, okay. And I'm thinking, is he, you know, handicapped in some way? I didn't understand what was happening. And she said, well, no, I laid out his clothes and that wasn't what he wanted to wear. So we had to stop. We had to go back. And there was certain jeans that he wanted to wear, and I hadn't ironed them, and I hadn't, and she went through this whole long thing about having to change his wardrobe because, he had that choice.
Yeah.
Parenting styles today give
Mm.
choices that we didn't get.
Right.
I'm not saying it's good and I'm not saying it's bad, but I am saying if your job is in jeopardy because you are late every day because your little boy doesn't want to wear his clothes that you laid out,
Yeah.
that may require some attention.
That made me some rearranging.
I did ask her, I said, and how old is he? And she said 4.
Oh,
And I thought, we're talking pre K.
pre-K.
I mean, I'm glad he's intelligent. I'm glad
Yeah.
he has good command of the English language. Howsomever, as my aunt would put it, howsomever. That may be a little young. And what I wonder about, and maybe somebody in the audience can comment on it, and you comment on it as well. How can I see I think I understand the reasoning behind letting them choose and letting them find their own way and all of that. But at some point, there has to be a guide. At
Yes.
some point, there has to be something that allows them to know what to choose.
Right.
What is the right choice to make? What is the right way to decide whether or not you want to do something? I used to tell my daughter, let me tell you how you can understand what's right from wrong.
Mm.
If you can stand before me and tell me what you did, then in your mind, it was the right thing to do.
Right.
But if you can't, if there's something in you that wants me to not know,
Right.
then there's a pretty good chance it's crossed the line somewhere and you're not doing something that you're supposed to do. You know, I don't have to be your friend
Right.
and be relieved of the responsibility of
There you
being
go.
your parent.
Right. Right.
And the parenting comes with laying foundation, showing moral excellence, moral values, and things like that as they are growing, pouring in the
Yes.
young age, like you were saying, and as they're growing older, letting go won't be as difficult because they will remind you, you taught me to
Yes. They will
choices, so why can't you trust me to make those
to
good
make the
choices?
choices. I really think that they need, like you were saying, they really need that guide. It's okay for you to make the choices, but you need a guide
Yeah.
because it's somebody they have not when they are 4, when they are 2. It's like you're guiding them and kind of leading them and showing them which way to go. And you can give them like a little leeway. You can pick out 3 outfits and say, okay, which one of these are you gonna wear?
Hmm.
But to have to go in and have to redo everything because you changed your mind or because you don't like this right here, I think that too much we try to be too much of a friend and not so much as a parent. It's like you was just saying about releasing the responsibility. Oh, it's not on me anymore. It's your choice.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we can't do that when you're guiding somebody and you're teaching them. They're not mature enough to do certain things, and that's why you're there as that teacher and as that guide. You have to put some type, like when you ride a bike, you have them training wheels in the beginning, so you say you can ride it, but it kind of wobbles from the side to side, kind of teach you how to balance.
Hmm.
And you need parents there that's going to teach you how to balance those things, and not go like way off to this side or way to the other side, but to balance you in the middle.
And I think that is a good key, and that is a good way to look at it. Bernice was saying everything has to be put in perspective and realistic.
Yeah,
Definitely agree there. And
yeah,
Francine was giving tip to say she put her children's clothes out the night before, and was asking, why didn't they do that? I don't know that they didn't have them out the night before, but this was a when we got up in the morning thing, and he
yeah,
could have changed his mind overnight. But the lesson has to be how to make better choices
yes,
in a timely manner,
right,
so that even if you change your mind, you don't have it set up that the world is going to stop spinning and totally revolve around a difference in your decision.
right.
Because when that happens, as they grow older,
Mm,
it persists.
it does.
It persists.
It persists, and it will get worse. Where it's like now I'm demanding,
Yeah.
basically, that you do what I tell you to do. not, I'm not listening anymore because I feel like my voice is gonna move you and make you do what I want.
Here's
That's
a good thing from Josie. I like this. She said those are primary years. They don't know what they like at that point.
Thank you, Josie.
Too early to make that decision. Yes, I agree. I agree. And within the freedom, there are lessons within the freedom.
Yes.
You can talk to them, you can allow them to have the choices, but help them understand why the choice is there, or why it's a good choice or why it's not a good choice, and go from that standpoint, as opposed to just saying, oh my goodness, you don't like that, let's just
Oh, let's
do
just
what you
change it.
want,
Let me get out some stuff
rather
so I
than
can iron it for you. No.
would not have. That's a new prayer. That's the now faith. That's the things I was believing him for then. I'm not believing him for that right. Things change. Things change.
They
But
do.
I want to get touch on one last thing. Gosh, we're at 7:34 already.
Yeah.
Um, communicating with care. Communicating with care.
Yes.
When we get into our, what am I believing God for now? Um, Communication is such a key thing,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to our adult children, because it has to start way before they get to be adult.
An adult.
Hopefully, um, we came along. Many of us came along with the do it. Just do as I say. Do I don't have time to explain to you. I don't need
Mhm.
you to explain to me. I just need you to go do what I told you to do. Um,
Yes.
and I'm not saying that that's necessarily the best way, but that was the way
The
uh,
way.
that we did it then. I think in terms of, we didn't have the availability of
Mhm.
information
Right.
that they have now. There weren't any TikToks and Twitters and Facebooks and all of that. The access was not
Yes.
there. for all of the things that young people have access to now.
No.
So it's a lot different. It's a lot different, and we still have to be able to talk. We have to maintain some training in just plain old social skills,
Yes. It,
because it's
yeah.
missing.
Yes. The social skills thing. I'm like, yes. Because if I sit sometimes and watch kids and they don't know how to interact with one another in person.
Right.
They will interact with you all day through computer,
Hmm.
and they will talk back and forth, and they'd be like, "Oh, my friend, my friend, my friend," but you get them in a place together, and it's like it's odd to them
Yeah.
because they're not face to face. And I'm like, "Oh no, you are taught skills even when you go out to play." It's like
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
learn certain skills when you're out on the playground together, when you're doing things together as in person.
Hmm.
And I think that's something that's being lost. So it's like you try to put the kids out where they're with other people, and
Hmm.
not just through a computer or through some type of device that you're talking to that person. Learn how to be social and talk to other people, even through playing and stuff. A lot of people, the social thing really gets me, because I was like, back in the day, with my kids, I had them in a class that they did through church at one point, where they taught them etiquette, and they taught them how to sit at a dinner table, what knife to use, what fork to use, what, and they knew what a salad fork was, and they knew what all these things were, and were taught that. And then when they were at dinners and stuff that they went to during school, they knew what to do when they were at the table. And you get a lot of people now, they don't, they're not even taught that anymore. Sometimes we say, "Oh, this is a new generation," or "This is new," but something that Prophet Rose told me a long time ago, those words stuck with me. She said, "You can't have the old without the new, and you can't have the new without the old. They
Hmm.
go hand in hand." So we
Hmm.
can't throw away everything that we've ever learned and say, "Oh, this is new now," because it was those things that built character in us back then. It was that, and so those things that we need to learn from, we can learn from, so we can communicate better. But they're doing communication on a whole different level now. It's like all this social media, and back in the day, a lot of people didn't want to talk to you about certain things. So it's like doing the same thing but different, where the
Hmm.
communication is not there.
Well, I think that this is, I'm going to put this back up again. Something that Bernice said. She said, "Do you think that you think they must learn to deal with their decision making and its consequences, good or bad?"
Yeah.
Bernice, I think that's true, but and I also think that that is a vital part of knowing how and learning how, or not forgetting how, to actually communicate, because sometimes a lot is lost in how people interpret what
Yes.
it is that you're saying. And next week, we're going to be talking about perception and perspective on things. And that has a lot to do with it. I look around sometimes, and there will be 7 people in a room, and everybody's on the phone.
Yes.
No conversation
No
going on,
conversation.
nothing happening interactive, just everybody on the phone. And sometimes, we're texting each other and we're in the same house. I'm like, what happened? Why are you texting me? Why aren't you talking to me? And
Yeah.
so much is often lost in that,
Yeah.
and I can't fix it. Body language is often very important.
Yes, it is.
And if I say something to you and I can see your body language, I can fix, or at least have the opportunity to perhaps fix what you may take away and become offended by, or
Mm-hmm.
think that I'm judging you because I have said a certain thing. But if I never, if we never face to face, if we never learn how to communicate with each other, know how to communicate with each other, then we lose all of that. We
Yeah.
lose all of that, and there is a shift and a change as our children grow, as we grow, as we
Yes.
turn the corner, and they have to step up and do certain things, all those other things, those languages, life languages that we talk
Yes.
about in terms of respect and patience and listening, and all those other things become vitally important, and they are built upon all of those training blocks,
Yes.
all of those training blocks that we tried to build build early on.
Yes.
But you can't give up.
You can't. You have to continue to pour into them and continue to show them what to do. It's like you still have to communicate
You
with
still
them
okay.
and and show that example. And because it's better sometimes it's like, okay, at some dinner tables they say, okay, you're gonna put the phone down. Everybody have to put their phone like in a basket or something for dinner, and they make them sit down and talk to each other during their dinner time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are things that we have to do. Just like back in the day, sometimes they would be like, turn the TV off. I used to do that with my kids. I would say, no TV. We're gonna turn the TV off, and we're gonna have dinner, and everybody gonna sit at the table. We're not getting plates and going to our rooms. We're sitting at the table, and
Right.
we're gonna eat, and we're gonna talk. And they were looking at me like, but they knew that when I finished dinner, that's what we're gonna do, because I need you to talk to me. I need to, to see where you are. I want to hear how your day was. How was everything at school? What happened?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the time that we would have to sit down and talk. And I think we have to do that with our kids now, even if they're grown.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have to have that time where we can sit and have lunch and we can actually talk and not be sitting on our phones. We eat our food, but we on our phones. It's
Yeah.
like, no, let's sit down and have a conversation.
Well, Angie, before I put up uh, Francina's comment here, Francina, you don't know it, but you are into our show tomorrow. Let's see. Let me get Josie's thing here. She's one of the hardest things for me is to wait for them to come to me. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I would pour in the wisdom when they open the door.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. And
Yeah.
sometimes they don't.
They don't. And
And
I
and
understand.
that is the now prayer. That
Yes.
is the faith now prayer. Is to be able to say, Father, let me know when it's time. You know,
Yes.
let me know. You create the atmosphere. If this
Right.
is something that you want me to do, then you create the atmosphere and give them a heart to receive.
Yes.
I wasn't thinking of praying that kind of prayer when they were 12, but
No.
I definitely think about praying that kind of prayer now because there is still some information to be shared.
Yes, it
Let me
is.
do this, and then Angie, I want you to tell them about tomorrow's program. Francine said, I had to listen to my adult children explain to me my lack of communication as they were growing up. It was my way, and because I said so. Mhm. Thank you, Father, that our relationship today has grown and we're able to communicate without taking offense. We talk, and I love face to face communication when we are in each other's presence.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Angie, tell them what's coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to conclude our Faith After 50.
Faith after
You
50.
know, yeah,
And
tell them what's going to happen tomorrow.
tomorrow we will be talking about bridging the gap. And we have been talking about that generational gap in those adult children. So we're going to have two adults that are going to be on the show tomorrow. And they are going to come in and they're going to talk about, we're going to talk about relationships with our adult children. And they are two adults. One of them is my child. And that should be interesting. And then we have her friend that's going to be on also, Derek. They were on a couple of weeks ago, and we talked
Right.
to them about their generation and what they're doing in their generation. So they have agreed to come back, and we're going to have them on the show on tomorrow, and we're going to do some more Carolina conversations here. With the connection here, we're going to connect, and we're going to talk to some adults that are stepping out, and they are young adults, and we are their like parents. Well, I'm a parent, and the grandparents and everything else. We want to talk about the relationship. So y'all want to be here tomorrow. Y'all want to let somebody else know, because we want y'all chiming in on tomorrow when we have them on here, because we're going to ask some questions and we're going to get some feedback and kind of see where they are, because it's good to see where your adult children are. And those of you who have adult children in that 30-ish range, have them chime in too. We want to hear what they got to say.
Yes, and we do have a series of questions that we're asking. I'm asking from the North Carolina young folk, and Angie will have her two guests on live. But we want to know from them, uh, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you think you know your parents?
Yeah.
How well do you think your parents know you?
Mm-hmm.
What are the things that are off limits for you where parents are concerned? We're going
Yes.
to talk a little bit about what they expect when transparency is involved. So it's going to be, I'm
Great.
going to be calling on some of the younger people in the village, and going to have her two guests live, and we're going to see just what it is that we can do that will help with this generational divide. Sometimes it's not even a gap, it is a divide.
Yeah, a lot of times it is. It's
Yeah, and we don't want that, and they don't want that. So let's see what we can do to make things a
to
little better,
bridge the gap. Yes.
bridge the gap. So we're gonna be bridging the gap tomorrow with Whole and Beautiful right here at 7 p.m. Angie's gonna have two members from her Whole and Beautiful Nation. They're gonna go on. Oh, Francina said, I need those questions so I can ask my children. Absolutely. I will be sure to provide them to you, Francina. And if anybody else who is on the line would like them as well, just let me know. You can put it in the comment section right now if you choose to. Just say, I need the questions, and I will be sure to make those available to you. Okay, Francina.
Yes. And that would be good.
And some of these, Francina, most of these are going to be 1 to 10 kind of answers, so that we can just kind of get a gauge that way. Josie Ellerby, do you have how?
I can contact her. I know her.
Okay, Angie knows you, so
Mhm.
Josie, she's going to get those questions to you. And is it Bernice? Bernice is asking for them as well. Okay, and anybody else? Josie, Francina. I think that's it. If anybody else wants them and has not commented here, you can always get me at speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That's speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That is it for us for tonight. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for your pouring in and pouring out, and just allowing us to do the same where you're concerned. And we just we're going to do some things. We're going to make some changes. We're going to make some adjustments. We're going to be in alignment, and we're going to make sure our faith is on fleek even after 50. So that's it for us tonight. For me, come on back to When Life Speaks next week at 7 p.m. I will be right here. And I'm not sure whether I'll have a guest or not, but you know what? Come back. And when you come
Yes,
back, be ready to receive so that when life speaks, you'll
you'll
speak
speak
life.
life.
And for tomorrow, come right back here to this whole and beautiful nation
Yes.
and enjoy what we're going to find out about bridging the gap. It's going to be interesting, even for us.
Yes. Part two.
That's it. That's it. Angie O, thanks so much for being with me tonight. And rest well and have a good day tomorrow. You guys have a
You
great
thank
day. And we'll see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Good night, everybody.
Good night.